another side of this is to fuel training output when we're not just putting the same weight on the abduction machine and we're doing 25 reps until it burns and we feel like we've done enough. We're like actually chasing an increase in output session over session. That's going to take calories. It takes fuel, right? So that was a big part of the conversation, is that like, all right, if we're training like this, we need to eat like we're training. We need to eat to support the training, and not necessarily to support the training. Like, yes, that's the result of it. But the way that I think it is, we need to eat to support the recovery from the train, right? Because now we're doing some damage, like quite literally within the session, is that we're damaging these muscles. And this is the point that I was going to make, is that session where we switched you from front foot elevated split squats to rear foot elevated with the external support. I remember, yeah, it was a difficult session, but I remember you being sore from that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, all right, so muscle soreness tells me that we did some damage here, right? And the thing that we're going to need to recover from that muscle damage is, we need to rebuild our muscles, like on a very structural level. Like, we need amino acids, we need carbohydrates, we need faster hormone productions pending external supplementation. But still, like, there's requirements on all of these things that we need. And those requirements just went up because output went up. So that's it. That's the foundation for all of this. We're not going to grow muscle if we don't have substrate to grow muscle, right? And I think that's something that I think it's pretty well known, but I think it's highly neglected in especially the training space for aesthetics, because there is, everyone's goal is to be more defined, have more muscle, and be leaner all at the same time. When realistically, those are different phases of training that will facilitate each of those things. And like, I've seen what you do. I've been around the industry for a while, and I know the people that want to build muscle and be lean at the same time, they don't actually have enough muscle for it to show when they get lean a lot of the time. So most people, it's going to be most advantageous for them to focus on building muscle first before they worry about getting lean. And that's not a blanket statement. That's clearly my opinion. I'm not speaking for anyone else, especially you, but like, most people, they're going to get the results they want if they focus on building more muscle out of the gate. And then as they get leaner, then they'll probably look a lot closer to the way that they want to look, as opposed to just trying to be super lean and like do it all at once.
And even within that, there's context around how you put that weight on and what metrics you're using to define whether or not it's muscle or fat. And it's something I'm communicated with you. I was really communicated during the build that like, it didn't matter if I was going from 135 to 137, 137 to 140. Every part of that sucked major dicks for me. Every part of it was mentally the opposite of what I wanted to do. And I think that was that was really necessary for me to go, because I started the build, I think, a little under 137. And that was the point where we got back from Hawaii that I was like, okay, like, I'm tired of training and being unpredictable. I'm tired of performing so heavily, being something that I just have to walk in the gym and see how it goes. I want to create some predictability. And we know this, like, I know this about myself. Like, I can lose fat. I don't struggle with it. It just has to be a committed phase that I'm actually doing it. So the way I kind of frame it for clients is like, if you've got the fat loss down, then the building, like, let's push up to a weight that's still productive, but it's okay if it's uncomfortable the entire way through. And I tell women this, and like, if you're someone who has strived your entire life to not be fat, this is going to be hard. And it doesn't mean that it's not the thing that you need to do. It doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing to do or isn't the best way to go about building muscle. But also, like, brace for that. Like, the expectation is you're probably going to hate this. And it's just about finding that, like, okay, is the return great enough? Is it sufficient to a point that you can be okay with those couple months, those few months set aside that you're not going to look your favorite way, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a very real struggle because, and I felt it too because we were doing this alongside of one another. And when we met, like a lot of my training career, I've been very lean and I enjoy being lean. It's a good feeling. And when we were both doing this, like we obviously both put on some body fat. I don't think either of us put on an excessive amount. I just put on an excessive amount of points on my blood pressure in millimeters mercury. Um, but that's a really important part of this. Is like, yeah, body composition is going to change, and there's kind of two sides to that. For me, at least, is that there's the side of looking yourself and maybe not seeing your body the way you want to see it, but then for me, a big part of that was still knowing that I don't necessarily look the way I want. I am performing the way that I want, but I also need to take the effort that it takes to eat the calories I need to continue to eat to keep this process working the way that it needs to work. So I didn't just get to eat fluffy for no reason. Right. And so that was like a very mental struggle for me, is like, right, I'm higher percentage body fat right now. But knowing that and not being super stoked about that, I still need to eat 4,400 calories in a day. And like, which that by itself, yeah, maybe that sounds great for a day or a weekend, but put that months on end, and that's fucking exhausting. Like, it's so tedious having to eat that much. And it almost felt like a treat for me on days. Like, I remember one day we went out for steak. We went to Nikkei in San Francisco. And it was like a guilty pleasure for me because we were going out. I didn't eat all day. Like, I fasted all day before that. I'm like, oh, it feels so good to have an empty stomach for 4 hours. So I didn't wake up with an empty stomach for months. So it took a little while for my stomach to get empty and be hungry for dinner. But that was like a very real part of that process too, is like, yeah, maybe not being stoked on the way that your body looks, understanding that you have a goal that is hopefully more meaningful to you down the line than, your appearance right now, which it was for me. And like my end goal in this process was output based. It was very much strength based. Like, I was pursuing a 500-pound back squat, which I later did. But I never would have done that had I not kind of just bit the bullet, did the uncomfortable thing. And that's like a lot of what we're talking about kind of revolves around that, is like you separating the idea of sensation being what's going to create more muscle growth. That's an uncomfortable thing to take that leap of faith and say, like, okay, I'm going to separate these two things mentally and I'm just going to trust that it's going to work. And then I'm going to be mad at him if it doesn't, which luckily you were. Uh, that's like, it's a very uncomfortable thing to try something like this late into your career. You've been a professional bodybuilder for how many years now?
21.
Is it so 4 years, like, and not to mention all the training you did to get to the point to be a professional bodybuilder. So you're like over a decade into training. And I just come in, I'm like, hey, that kind of paradigm that you revolve the thing that you're a professional in the sport at around. Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore.